All right, hi everyone, and welcome to today's pop-up AI webinar. I'm Allison Schwartz from Gotham Ghostwriters, and as many of you know, our forthcoming AI course is actually the second course in our Ghostmasters professional development program, following the very well-received course we did on how to break into the business of ghostwriting with Tony Rubino. Both courses have the same underpinning. They're highly practical, they're actionable, and they're focused on what writers want, which is to be more efficient and to make more money. In other words, as Tony Rubino always says, our courses are designed to accelerate your earning curve. I'm joined today by our partner in the AI course, Mike Long. Mike is the original AI skeptic. He's a physicist turned ghostwriter and speechwriter and Georgetown professor. And Mike, as you'll learn, once he dug into AI, his income increased more than 40%. AI has changed the way he works, and now he's teaching Ghostmasters 201, your guide to AI. Our hope is that this little speedy pop-up will wet your whistle and you'll decide to invest and join us for the Ghostmasters 201, your guide to AI, which will be taught over 5 successive Fridays starting May 29. If you're tempted, look out for a code that will reactivate the now expired super early bird pricing. And we'll also put that code in the chat. And now, without further ado, here's my pal Mike Long with 15 AI bangers in 15 minutes. Thanks.
All right. Can everybody see the slide and see me here in front of it? Are we good on the share? I'm going to say we are good on the share. Thank you for coming out. This really is going to be 15 tips, tricks, techniques, facts that you can use in 15 minutes. So we're going to go fast. And this is just the tip of the iceberg here. They come in two categories: things that you need to know, things that you need to be able to do. I'm going to help you know what AI can and cannot achieve, because there's a whole lot of misinformation, disinformation. Let's just get away from that and call it wrong ideas about what's going on in that space. And the other thing, the second category, I want to show you things that you can use exactly, precisely right now to start using it. This 15-minute pop-up, and I'm using time right now, so let's get started. This is not the groundwork to tease you into coming. I want you to take the seminar, but today I will give you things you can use, okay? I wrote code for 15 or for 10 years, and then back in high school, even before I even did this. My income has absolutely gone up. My satisfaction with my work has gone up, and I'm happy to share it with you because there's still tons of low-hanging fruit out there. Lots of people, there's room for you. There's room for you. And if you know the things I'm going to teach you today, you're going to know more than most people already know about AI. That's how confident I am in what we're going to talk about. Technically, I say we're going to talk about. Mostly I'm going to talk, you're going to listen, but hopefully we have some Q&A when this all gets sorted out when we do our seminar. Okay, technically, I'm going to tell you how to use an LLM. You've probably heard that term, but what is an LLM? And that's where we shall begin right there. An LLM is a large language model. It is a pile of words that have been studied by the computer and created or formed into a matrix where we can see all the connections between these words. That's what we have. A large language model is just that, a pile of words gleaned from the internet itself, plus a lot of books, plus a lot of other training. Now, the word we have going here is large. It's a large language model, not small or medium. There are small and medium language models, and those are used for focused jobs like processing payroll, like tracking inventory. An LLM, a large language model, is a generalist, like you and I, well, me for sure, probably you are. And it uses, here's a number for you, 100 billion or more variables. Now, the reason I tell you that is the typical program on your desktop uses a few thousand variables. If it uses something called an array, which you don't have to understand, it may use millions of variables, but a billion is 1,000 million. And an LLM has 100 billion or more variables. So we're talking about a huge set of data here, a huge program, which explains why you've only seen AI in the past couple of years really take off. It's not that we didn't have this idea before. It's existed out in computer science for decades, but we've only now had the software and the hardware, especially the hardware that can do all this stuff super fast and fast enough for humans to make use of it. So an LLM is a matrix of words is what it is, and it does these three things in this order. It reads an enormous amount of text. You've heard of the Anthropic case where writers like you, writers like me, got money back because these companies used our work to quote unquote train the LLMs. Well, that's what we mean by read. It looks at all this stuff and creates that matrix of words and how they're related to one another. Just don't think of it as anything more than that for now. Just a matrix of words that are connected. The next thing it does is it identifies those connections, the patterns of how not just words, but also phrases and sentences and even ideas, kind of an amorphous way to talk about it, are used. And finally, from this connection of how things work together, it can actually predict the next word, phrase, or sentence. And it does this so well that it appears to be reasoning. In fact, there is no intelligence involved. It's just saying probabilistically, statistically, in terms of the odds, what's most likely to come after this word, after this phrase, after this sentence. We can say it's a very good guess, but it's more than a guess. It's an informed prediction. You see this already when you're typing in MS Word and it says it does predictive typing for you. It's trying to figure out what normally appears after that phrase. Here's, for example, Mary had a little blank. If we ask an LLM to fill it in, most of the time it's going to say Mary had a little lamb. It knows that because it's looked at all this text out there in the universe, basically, and it sees that about 70% of the time the word lamb follows this phrase. Mary had a little blank lamb. It also knows that sometimes baby comes up, sometimes secret, sometimes dog, and then there's a long tail of other answers. Long tail, not the wagging tail of the lamb, although that makes a funny image, I guess. 21% of the time, roughly, we can say. Other words come up, like Mary had a little spoon. Probably not. Mary had a little and. That's almost never going to come up. Mary had a little and, but it comes up in microscopic ways. So what the LLM does is it says what's most likely to follow Mary had a little blank, and it throws it up there. It is predicting what's most likely to be next based on what it has seen. Now, it has this prediction matrix set up, and it is constantly upgrading it based on the new stuff it knows. So let's say that you're asking it or you're typing in Mary had a little whatever, and it knows lamb is most likely. But let's say you've been typing the last three paragraphs about corporate settings. I have the boardroom written up here. And so it knows that maybe lamb isn't the most likely thing based on what you've said, based on other words and how often they've occurred. Maybe Mary had a little meltdown is more likely. So those percentages up here, those shift based on all the words and texts that it's seen before. It's constantly upgrading this. It's looking at the topic you're dealing with. It's looking at the tone of the register. It's looking at the earlier conversations and a lot more of factors. And for every word, it attaches all these different, we'll call them weights. It attaches all these factors or weights so we can see how often this word appears in this context at this point. You can see that this hundreds of billions of factors comes into play exactly like this. It's keeping track of a great deal of statistical possibility. And as I said, those odds shift every time you type something else. It's finding patterns that you would never see as a human being because you don't have the time or the brain power to go through all these words constantly. But a computer does. I want to emphasize it's not figuring out truth with a capital T from zero. All it knows is what it saw you do as the person operating the system and what it saw the world do as it's presented on the internet. So when we talk about uh, what it learned and why it answers the way it does, what we're actually talking about is something called training. If I teach you nothing but swear words, all you're ever going to say is swear words. If I teach you about nothing but communism, you're going to talk about communism. If talk about free enterprise, you're going to talk about free enterprise. So the whole of the internet, the nature of what it emphasizes, de-emphasizes, that determines the attitude of the AI that you're dealing with. So when we say, oh, it's biased this way or that, yeah, it is biased this way or that based on what it was trained on. If we want to make it biased another way or unbiased, there are a couple of ways we can do that. But in the end, we're really just reflecting what it has been taught. Okay. And we can use the big LLM as a general purpose model. We can use one just inside a company and feed it mainly what we do. So it becomes an expert on our particular way of talking, way of thinking, way of reasoning. Or we can narrow it in an SLM, a small language model, just to do a particular job within all of that. And this brings us to the next category of stuff. That's how it works in really broad strokes. Here's how you can use it. When you want output from the LLM, from the AI, don't say something like, oh, write me a report about X. You're never going to be happy with that. AIs take vagary and just impose the middle of the curve on whatever you ask for. Don't be vague, be specific. If I go into a barber shop, they would look at me crazy because I have no hair. But let's pretend for a moment that I do have hair. I go in, I just say, give me a haircut. I'll walk out with whatever the barber thought the average person wanted, and I'm not going to like it. That's why when you go to the barber shop or the hair cuttery or whatever you're going to, you say, oh, well, I want it short in the back. Here's a picture I want it to look like. I want it, I don't know. I don't remember haircut things to say because I haven't had a haircut in so long. I want a part on this side. I want it long in the back. I want a party in the back. I want business in the front. Whatever the hell you're going to say, you're specific. And it's the same way with AI. You give it vague things, it gives you a vague output, moderate milquetoast output. The more specific you are, the better your output's going to be. And let me stress right here, you can never, as Ferris Bueller said, you can never go too far. You can never go too far. Say as much as you want. Write 1,000 words about exactly how precise you want it to be. Give it your notes. Give it everything you have and say exactly what you want. Tell it how you want it to begin. Tell it how you want it to end because it is like a genius savant servant for you. And it thrives and it satisfies best when it has specifics. Bonus banger. Here we are. Keep your chats separate. You can see here's a copy of my real screen over in Grok. I use 4 or 5 different AIs depending on the task, and we'll talk about that later. You can see over here, I don't know if you can see my arrow or not, but over there are projects, which we'll talk about. There's history of my chats. There's drilling down cartoon. I had it draw something. Corporate boardroom meltdown. That's when I was working on the slide about Mary Had a Little Lamb. That's what that conversation was. When I wanted to talk about, here you can see adoptee suicide risk. I was looking into that matter. I created a new conversation just to focus on that. Why? Because I know it's looking at the previous conversation to stay on the subject. So I don't want to just write a question and then another topic and another topic. I want to ask a new chat, start a new chat every time. So there's your bonus banger. Keep your chats separate. Next up, keep coming back for more. The key word here is an iterative process. When you ask a question, you get output, look at the output, and then say, now add this. Take this away. No, you got it wrong. Start over and ask again and again. Ask, read, refine, repeat over and over again. I have pieces that I've worked on, whether they're slide decks, and that's the cool secret, by the way. You can do some amazing slide decks, speeches, reports. I've tried to tighten up a little bit, get some insight on working out plotting and fiction, on it goes. Whatever it gives me, even research, of course, which is where we use most of this. I say, give me more of this and less of this. Do it this way. The key to getting good stuff out of AI is coming back over and over again, iteratively, and being specific. All right. Next up, the specific thing extends to getting information that you're going to dig from. So if I say, I need some topics in the realm of regulation of the airlines. Give me some topics I could talk about or I could research. Don't say that. Say, give me five important topics, important in the sense that they are now being adjudicated or re-regulated or deregulated. Say five or three or four or 10 or whatever. Look at what it comes back with. Don't say some, give it a number. Everything, again, that's specific yields a better outcome. Don't say, give me some headlines. Say, give me three headlines under 8 words and use a punchy verb at the very beginning of it. Don't tell me, can you give me some ways to start this essay? No. Say, give me 3 openers and these are the categories. I need a provocative one. I need a warm one. I need a shocking one, whatever you're going to say. Don't just say, here's my paragraph. Please tell me how I might improve my paragraph. Well, no kidding. There's lots of ways to improve it. Where do you want them to begin? No, give me structural changes, put them in order. Do a copy edit on this. Pay particular attention to alternative ways to punctuate it. You see what I'm getting at here? Specificity is what this lives on. Banger number 8. Use this thing. We're taking a big turn now. Use this thing the way the world uses you. When you're a writer, the question you get back over and over is, I don't understand. Please explain this a different way. Please explain this more. When you ask the AI stuff, be that person that people are to you. You remember the scene from The Office where Michael had a surplus and he wanted to buy a copier, but everybody wanted different things? This is it. Ask these kinds of questions. Hey, Grok, and I've used this. Explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old because it'll give me the first explanation. I might forget my own rule, and it'll give me some broad explanation. And I'll say, no, 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 I don't know anything about this. Explain it to me like I'm 8. And then it'll come back and I'll say, you're still imagining I know more than I do. Please explain it to me like I'm 5. Give me the simplest thing you can, and then build back up from there. Treat AI as an explainer the way the world treats you. Next up, this is not a tool for writing per se. It's a tool for good writers to use to write faster, more effectively, and more correctly. And by correctly, I mean not only structurally, not only in terms of copy editing issues, but also in terms of what ought to be covered, what ought to be left out in the order in which they ought to be offered. It is awfully good at building the bones, at building the scaffold, I should say. You usually provide the bones. The voice belongs to you. Now, this is the big core truth that I think trips up so many people about AI. They say, well, I don't want it to write my stuff. Well, no kidding. I don't want it to write my stuff either. But I would like to have a research partner who I can constantly ask questions to, who I can rely on, who has read more than I have. So when you use it to quote unquote write, don't use it to write, use it to set up the scaffold. On the left, you'll see these are the things that you bring to it. Here are 5 items that I absolutely need to mention in this 10-minute speech. Is there anything missing? And I say, yes, here's a topic you might consider adding. Oh, that's great. That's the sort of thing we'd never get without AI, because not only do we not always know the information we need, we don't know what we're missing in terms of the information. We don't know where to go. I bring the audience information. I bring the length. I bring the voice. It can say, oh, here are some things that will matter if those are the factors in play. You really ought to include those. Or here's a place you may have stepped on it. Be careful. On and on it goes like that. Number 10, you're trying to persuade. Much of what we do is about persuasion, trying to get people to do something with their arms and legs or their voice. Make your argument and then say push back. What argument is a well-informed opponent going to make about this? What is an undecided person going to push back against? So you can argue with it. Find the holes in my argument, you ask. What is missing? What cases should I be making that I am not? Can you give me examples? Not that you manufacture, but that you looked out in the world and the data you have and found. Give me a real world example of this thing playing out in real time. There you go, a couple of bonuses, basically a dozen bangers, and I promised you 15. Let me hit these fast. If you sign up for the course, we'll drill down on all this plus your questions. There's so much to know. I have rarely, let me just break from my slide and tell you this. I was trained as a physicist. I've been a writer for over 3 decades. Um, and this thing in the last 2, 3 years has changed my career more than anything ever. Short of getting my first job on the Hill, this has been the most influential because it has enabled me to think faster, to move faster, to have a partner in a lot of work that I don't have to turn things over to. It's a weird relationship, but I don't turn things over to AI. I say, help me do this while I do that. It brings real joy. You can ask my wife and she'll tell you, yeah, he's back in the office most into the evening just because I'm having so much fun working on things now that I have a partner I never had before. We're lonely folks, writers. This is a way to get better at it. Anyway, the other five here really quickly. As I said, there's the right AI for the right job. Things like Notebook LLM are specially focused on using just the information you have as opposed to going out on the internet. Wonderfully useful. Claude, I'll tell you right now, if you're not using Claude, go over to Claude. Not because Claude is always the best, but right now, as of mid-April, April 16th, actually, when they upgraded their newest version, that's the one that's best for the kind of writing work we do. It was ChatGPT up to that point. Now it's Claude. Ask the same question to multiple AIs. You're going to get different answers because they're trained in different ways. Huh? Ask another expert. Get a second opinion. How does it know what's true? Well, I've kind of talked about this. It doesn't know what's true. It just knows this is what most people think or say out in the world. And this is where we get into hallucinations. Number 14. It does make things up. It absolutely makes things up. But there are ways to, number one, reduce the number of those things fantastically. And number two, test everything that it comes out. And I can show you how to do both of those things so this terrible fear people have about hallucinations can really be accommodated and dealt with. So it's not something you're just worried, oh, I have to have my faith in it. You don't. I'll give you techniques. And finally, one of the things that I teach whenever I teach writing, I've taught writing, maybe some of you know me, or maybe some of you take my other classes. Structure is everything. Structure is everything. And AI is so good at saying, here's where your structure is missing. Here's another structure you didn't think about. Here's a structure that is well suited for the kind of thing that you're trying to do. So that's the 15 right there. If you want more of this, I wrote this in a way you could remember it. GothamGhostWriters.com/AI-course. Type that, you can get in there. And there you go, 15 bangers in 15 minutes. Allison, it's back to you. I'm out of breath.
Thanks, Mike. That was really great. I hope everyone enjoyed it, got something out of it, and we hope to see you at the course. As you can tell, Mike is enthusiastic to the point of exuberant when it comes to this topic, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to taking the course myself. Please look out for the link and the code in an email that will come out later today, and it's also in the chat for anybody who wants it. And the last thing I'll just say to the people that are still online is, if you're a ghostwriter and you have a book that you collaborated on and it was published between January 1, 2025 and June 30, 2026, this is a reminder that submissions are open for the Andy Awards for Outstanding Nonfiction Collaborations. Both author and collaborator co-submit and agree to share the award. Submissions close June 30th, where awards will be presented in 4 categories in partnership with the American Society of Journalists and Authors: prescriptive nonfiction, memoir, narrative nonfiction, and business and thought leadership. And we strongly encourage everyone who has an eligible book to co-submit with their author. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.